This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. Turn on your TV lately and you may have heard some concerns about deepfakes and how they can be used to spread political misinformation.
You may never have heard the term synthetic media, more commonly known as deepfakes, but our military, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies certainly have.
There's a mounting effort to unmask deepfakes. The altered videos shared widely on social networks are proving to be an extraordinary political weapon that is difficult to defuse.
Now, this video falsely claims to show Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He appears to talk to Ukrainian citizens and tell them to surrender to the Russians and lay down their arms.
But the most common use for deepfake technology doesn't seem to be spreading political misinformation. It's overwhelmingly being used to create non-consensual porn. In 2019, one cybersecurity firm tracked deepfakes shared online over the course of 1 year and found over 90% of them were used for this purpose. So in the years since this alarm was first raised, how much has actually changed? Today, we're going to focus on the legal fight against deepfake revenge porn and non-consensual porn, and why it's been such an uphill battle. The idea of having a right to privacy dates back to the early 90s, the 1890s, believe it or not. In a landmark paper for the Harvard Law Review, the authors warned that photographs and newspaper enterprise had invaded private life, and many mechanical devices could make what is whispered in the closet proclaimed from the housetops. Sounds a bit familiar, right? Even though the paper goes on to suggest the law should step in to stop spreading of personal pictures against someone's will, not much has legally changed since then. At the federal level, there is still no ban on creating deepfakes of someone without their consent. There have been scattered cases relating to using someone's identity to mislead people, but these are usually focused on individual cases and people with public personas. In the 80s, Bette Midler sued Ford and an ad agency for hiring one of her backup singers to imitate her voice in a commercial.
Do you wanna dance and hold my hand? Do you wanna dance and hold my hand?
For context, the agency got permission to use the song, but Midler herself refused to do the ad. So the focus of the suit was just over imitating her voice and whether exploiting her likeness is protected by free speech. It wasn't. Midler won her suit against the ad agency. You might be thinking, all right, hold up. How is exploiting someone's likeness for a commercial punishable, but exploiting someone's likeness for porn isn't? A big reason for that is just the difference in mediums and how they're regulated. On the internet, websites and platforms are generally not legally responsible for the content they host. The creator or uploader is, but they can be very hard to track down. That legal protection is thanks to the pivotal Communications Decency Act and its infamous Section 230. You may have heard Section 230 come up before from politicians on both sides of the aisle who want to reform big tech. And for the first time, there may be some momentum to revisit the statute. The Supreme Court just announced in early October that they'd be hearing their first ever case regarding Section 230. Holding platforms accountable for hosting deepfake porn wouldn't be a silver bullet solution, but it would be a game changer in how we crack down on the videos. And some experts argue that pushing for federal criminalization would be a vast improvement from the scattered state laws currently in place. 48 states and DC have banned non-consensual distribution of porn, but many of those laws don't apply to deepfake porn because there's still a legal gray area. It combines the images of multiple people, like a head of someone on the body of another, so there's some legal ambiguity about identity and personal harm. It's clear the law has some catching up to do when it comes to deepfake porn. But meanwhile, each year there are tens of thousands of victims who can't afford to wait for lawmakers to navigate these legal gray areas. It's not just deepfake porn where we see this problem. Deepfake technology is evolving so fast, many industries are struggling to figure out how to regulate it and when to criminalize it. One area that's been getting some attention lately has actually been in Hollywood. Using deepfakes to stand in for actors might seem like a no-brainer, like when an actor needs to look younger or something needs to be tweaked about the performance. But what happens when it starts to stand in for actors who can't be on screen anymore? Can a filmmaker ethically use an actor's likeness without consent if that actor has already passed away? Entertainment correspondent Casey Mendoza brings us this next story, tackling all these questions and more.
This may look like Bruce Willis acting in a Russian cell phone commercial, but it's not. It's a digital twin or deepfake of the retired actor, the rights to which Willis says he never sold. And that's reopened conversations in Hollywood about the legal implications of deepfake technology.
Right now, we are more than ever before being confronted with the reality of having to think about what protections need to be created, either through legislation or by court-made law, to allow people to feel safe in putting their image out there on these platforms.
For actors, as the technology behind deepfakes continues to advance, it may effectively allow them to be in multiple places at once. Their digital twin could do reshoots or appear in promotions, and for studios, deepfakes present an opportunity to immortalize their popular characters as played by well-known actors. The issue at hand, making sure performers aren't losing out to their digital twins. The Screen Actors Guild, or SAG, has been actively cautious about deepfakes and face-swapping technology since 2013 in response to athletes being digitally recreated in video games. And this summer, SAG's National Executive Director warned the technology could pose potential threats to performers' livelihoods.
This is why SAG is so involved in this, because they can foresee a future where some of their members are at a loss or have not been able to commercially monetize their image and likeness because they gave that away earlier on in their career, and nobody wants that to happen.
Though it varies by state, one of the protections that exists today is the right to publicity, which can protect the names, likenesses, and identities of anybody from being used without their consent.
If you have this ability to make money off of yourself, then you should own that ability. And that's just considered an intellectual property right. And so it's freely transferable, it's freely licensable.
The right to publicity has protected celebrities like Michael Jordan and Katherine Heigl, whose images were used without their consent in advertisements. But given the growing advancements in deepfakes, legal experts say people, particularly less experienced actors and young athletes, should keep a careful eye on their contracts.
If an actor is signing on to be involved in a project, they need to now, more than ever before, look at the language of the contract and be clear about what permissions they're giving.
The lawyer's job is to say, hey, this is a potential issue that could affect you for not only the next 10 years, but maybe the next 50 years. Let's say you become the next Michael Jordan, then what?
It's a race against technology, as legal experts say there's more discussion to be had about the legal implication of deepfakes. But caution today can help protect a performer's identity in the future. Casey Mendoza, Newsy.